Guys, welcome to another episode of The Pulse. We talk to interesting, cool people doing unique things, fun things. And today we have a guest that's done so much. I'm not even sure exactly how I label you. So we could go Countess, we could go Real Housewives of New York, we could go singer, author. Luann de Lesseps, the Countess, joins us. How are you?
I'm good. I'm great, Bill. Just got to London. Yeah, I'm super excited. It's my first time in London touring. So I'm doing, a big festival called the Mighty Hoopla, which is kind of like their Coachella, with a lot of big, stars, Rita Ora and on Vogue and Nelly Furtado and, just so many great names, Dita Von Teese, so it's really going to be a blast. So I'm super excited.
How did you get here? I feel like that's such a story. People know Real Housewives of New York. People now know the Countess Cabaret or maybe the books.
Right.
But how'd you get here?
When I wrote Money Can't Buy You Class, I met a producer and he goes, well, what do you want to sing about? When I first started Housewives, and I said, well, I don't know. I just wrote this book. And he opens the book and there's pull-out lines, which are, Money Can't Buy You Class, Elegance is Learned. And that now video has over 2 million views, which, if you said that to me when I wrote that song, that it would be so popular. And if I did a cabaret show and I didn't sing Money, they would go bananas. I could not have imagined that I would be at this place, first of all, playing myself on television, getting to be myself on TV for 14 years on Housewives, and performing in front of people all over the country, and touring, and now, overseas. I don't know if you know this about me, but I used to work for Italian television before I married the Count, and then moved to Switzerland where we raised our children, and then we moved back to the States, and that's when I started doing the Housewives.
This was you even before we knew this was you. And I think that's what I'm trying to get to. You were doing Italian television. You were this big personality, and then we got to see it. So it wasn't kind of created on the TV show.
Well, reality was new you have to remember, 16 years ago now, that reality had just started. I think Queer Eye was the first hit show for Bravo, and we came soon after. Reality was new to me, but I had always been a showgirl before that. I was a host of my own show on soccer in Italy. I stayed for 3 years. I speak Italian. I speak French. A lot of people don't know that about me. And a lot of people don't know, Bill. I'm going to give you some history now that the de Lesseps, because why my husband was a count is because they built the Suez and the Panama Canal and were so important in France that they gave the Statue of Liberty to America for the French. So Ferdinand de Lesseps, who was the architect and engineer behind the Suez and the Panama Canal, then was given the task of handing over the Statue of Liberty to America. So it's not like I pulled the Countess out of a Cracker Jacks box.
Pete, when you mention you, there's always an emotional response, positive emotional response, and oh wow emotional response. There's some kind of emotional response. I think it is fascinating that this was already you. So being this person was not a character. It was just okay, now people know what your circle of friends already knew.
Not even, because you're only getting a glimpse of me on television. So people think they know me, but they don't know me now.
Wait, there's more?
If you come to my cabaret show, you're going to know a lot more about me. Cabaret is it's a love affair. Like I say in the show, life is a cabaret. I've been doing it since 2018. And what people don't know is they don't really get to see my show on the Housewives because music rights and all that stuff was too expensive. Mm-hmm. So you only saw the drama around my cabaret show. So people think that that's they don't know my show. So when they come to my show, they're, I always say they drive in a Toyota and they drive out in a Rolls Royce, because I really, work hard on the show. And, with Bruce Roberts, we wrote Mary F. Kill together, and I love that song. And that's the name of my new tour. It's really inspired by my fans, and that's how I create my music, because every show I was doing a Q&A with the audience, and I get asked, okay, Countess, Mary F. Kill, and they give me 3 choices, right?
Yes.
And so show after show after show after show, I said, you know what? That is the name of my tour. I talk about my dating. I talk about my marriages. That's what Mary F. Kill is all about.
Your successes were very public. Your challenges were very public. your background, your divorce, the drinking,
I've been
things that you
hurt.
have been, right, everything was very public. How did that change things?
It took growing a thicker skin and not being afraid of what people think of you. I wouldn't look at, like, Jill would get the episode when we first started and like, let's look at it tonight. And I'm like, I don't know. I'd rather look at it in the morning. I might not be able to sleep. Yeah. There's always the moments where you go, oh God, I wish I would have said that. Or why did I say that? I have a living photo album of my life on the show, which a lot of people don't get to have, right? And I said things like, "Be cool, don't be like all along," which have been like moments of just being myself. And how I get affected, if ever, is if I hurt somebody else because of the show. There's been moments where everybody thought I messed around with a pirate, and I was dating Jacques. And so that was horrible for me, and then I had to relive. Not only did it happen in real time, then I had to relive it when the show aired. So you relive it twice. Yeah. It's kind of what people don't understand, because the show doesn't air until like 6 months later. So, I try to turn off social media, zone it out, because people are always going to make comments, and not always positive.
I don't know if anybody knows what going all the way public means until you actually experience it. But right. You chose to do that, and you continue to choose to do that. Why?
This is going on in my life, and I think it happens to everybody. Who doesn't fall in love and get, and get burned, in the world we live in today. I mean, I just went through my life, and I shared it because, listen, what's better of a storyline than having, boy troubles for girls? Because, I'm not perfect, right? And I think that's why the fans can relate, because I've been knocked down to the very bottom of bottoms, and I got back up and I rose to the Cabaret stage. It was not easy, but there was one way to go for me, and that was up. And so I think that's important to share, that even at this age, I'm in my 50s, I am living my best life. One of the best decades of my life, because I'm doing what I want. I'm doing what I love. And, I'm not doing the Housewives right now. Mm-hmm. As you've seen, I've done Crappy Lake. Mayor, I have a question for you. Does the air conditioning work in the car?
It wasn't operating yesterday.
Really?
So, I'm begging for forgiveness.
Oh my God.
That's how
Sonia,
typical motels are, yeah.
We got a problem. What happened? No AC in the car.
How is that possible? It's in 1985. They had AC in 85, didn't they?
We're gonna die. But that's a great show where it's a comedy, and we go into a small town. It's kind of like the Simple Life kind of situation.
Yeah.
But we have to go in after COVID and help the town, and leave behind some really some great things for the town to build it back up. I'm onto other projects now too, and Cabaret is really something that I love, and that's where I think for me it works so well, because people can see when you're real or not real, and if you're having a good time or you're not having a good time. I always say the camera doesn't lie. Sure, I wanted to protect my family and my first marriage and not have him on the show, etc., which I did. But people understand what you're going through, and if not, other housewives will tell them.
Coming up next, her shows are a lot like her life, entertaining and a little over the top.
Listen, I play the bongos. Watching a woman play the bongos in an evening dress dripping with jewels is kind of a sight to be seen. You know what I'm saying?
I went around and I spoke to, and I mentioned, because you talk about all that you've shared and all that was going on publicly and all the ups and downs in your life. And I wrote down the responses in our newsroom. One of our producers said, "I love her. She's a symbol of resiliency and rebirth." And then another person said, "Wow, she's a lot. I have no idea why she would put all of that out there." A couple of really emotional responses. When you sit back and realize you're impacting people's lives like that, how does that feel?
That feels amazing. Like when I do my Cabaret shows, I have meet and greets after my shows, and the fans are like, "You got me through cancer. You brought me and my daughter closer together. You made me not be afraid to take a chance." To hear that is really gratifying for me. It's almost like when I was a nurse, and somebody would say to me, "Thank you for being here tonight." I just feel the love coming from people, and it's so empowering. And I always say I could trip and fall on the stage and people be like, that was so elegant, Countess. You know what I mean? They have got my back. They come dressed to the nines for my shows. They show up for me. And that's really important to me.
Because you don't have to do it. You're doing all of this because you still love it.
I love to do it. I love the creative part. The Mary F. Kill was inspired by my fans. I wrote the song with them in mind. And I just shot a music video for that song. So super exciting times. I'm looking forward to people seeing the video. And it's empowering. All my music is empowering. It's about empowering oneself.
So you're touring, you're in London right now, but when you come to our area, you'll be at the Keswick Theatre June 20th. The Keswick, yes. I don't know if you've been there before. It's a really cool venue. It's big enough that it's fun, but small enough that it's intimate.
Oh, fantastic. Sounds perfect for my show.
Right. So we've started kind of teasing it a little bit, and you've given little bit of hints. But when people come see Mary F. Kill, what are we in for? You're
in for a pop culture experience because I show a lot of clips. They're in for Cabaret, and Cabaret is really storytelling, and comedy, and a fashion show, and the time of their lives. It's really a fun show. I pick, my music. I pick music that I love, that's personal to me, that I know that my fans will know the song. I do from Bonnie Raitt to Bowie to oh my God, Peggy Lee, even Nancy Sinatra. So I do a lot. I do some classics, and listen, I play the bongos. Watching a woman play the bongos in an evening dress with dripping with jewels is kind of a sight to be seen. You know what I'm saying?
I am not the casting agent, but I swear that if I met you, I would have gone, you got to put her on reality TV. Like, she needs her own show, her own cabaret, her own performance. So I get that decision. Coming up on The Pulse, we'll tell you what's next for the Countess. Fellas, listen up.
And, I'm not opposed to a dating show either. I'm single. I love my men.
Okay.
Oh my God, who is it, Kat?
From the Real Housewives, superstar cabaret star, the one and only Countess Luann.
Countess!
How was it being the hibiscus?
So much fun. I had the best time. And Jenny, she got it from the very beginning.
Luann, I love you.
I
I'm a
love you
huge
too.
fan of Luann. I always wanted to see one of your cabaret shows, and now I feel like, oh my God, I got to see her perform live here on The Masked Singer.
I'll see you all at my cabaret shows.
Yes! I am almost afraid to ask what's next.
I'd really love to host late nights because there's no woman in late night. And how I describe my show is cabaret, comedy, storytelling, and getting personal with my fans. So I think I'd make a great late night talk show host. And I'm not opposed to a dating show either. I'm single. I love my men.
Okay, we're putting it all out there. So dating show, late night show.
You haven't seen Ultimate Girls Trip, obviously.
With all that you've put out there, with the millions of people who now have, an opinion one way or the other, any regrets that you shared as much as you did?
Not really. And that's like one of my most favorite lines. There's a scene where we're in Turks and Caicos, and Ramona and I meet guys and we bring them home, and Ramona lets her guy fall asleep on a bed upstairs, and Heather's very upset because the bedroom is sharing to a bathroom and he's like butt naked. And she says to me in the morning, what's the guy doing upstairs? And she's all angry at me. It's really Ramona who left the guy there. And mine went home at 3:00 in the morning because I'm smart. Anyway, so they're like, wouldn't you be upset if you were to wake up in the middle of the night and there was a naked man in the bedroom next to you? And I look at her and I go, not really. So I really don't have regrets. For me, it's not regrets, it's growth from the experience. You know what I mean? It's seeing it and going, okay, I need to correct that. And who gets to do that, right?
Yeah.
Who gets to play themselves, see themselves, and edit themselves.
Like there was a life before all of this. Did you ever imagine?
Just a small town girl from Connecticut. And it's about making choices. And, I think I took chances. I moved to Europe. I didn't know anybody. I tried to be a model. That didn't go well. And then I found television really by accident, But I think if you don't put yourself out there, it's like if you don't go, on the boat, you can't catch any fish.
I think the way that your life is going would probably even have been bigger than your dreams. Like, did you even imagine all of this?
Well, the French aristocrat, now that was one that I had no clue. And, so when we met after 5 days, he said to me, you're going to, and I was a TV star at the time in Italy, living in Italy. He said to me, you're going to be the mother of my children. And I said, I know.
Oh.
And we got married 2 weeks later. Yeah, and we were married for 17 years. And there's where my fantastic children come from, because they were born from pure love and pure magic.
Coming up, how Countess Luann is taking her fame and making a difference.
If I can show up and I have that power, then I need to show up.
You have used kind of your visibility, the things that you're involved with, for a lot of different charitable causes and initiatives and things like that as well. Why is that so important to you?
Well, when me showing up to a red carpet can bring people to bring more to the cause, that's how I feel about it. If I can show up and I have that power, then I need to show up. And so, I've done that for, the homeless of New York, the Cancer Society, the LGBT plus community. I mean, a lot we've done on the show as well, on the Housewives. Mm-hmm. And we have a platform. So I feel like, you have to use that platform to do good for others that aren't as fortunate. So.
And then finally, the theme of The Pulse is the concept, use your voice for good. So we ask every person who comes on, when they hear the phrase, use their voice for good, what does that mean to you?
Well, use your voice for good for others, right? Inspiring others, helping others.
Mary F. Kill coming here to the Keswick and all over the world, really.
And my last tip to people is don't drink 20 minutes before you eat or 20 minutes after you eat. It totally messes up your digestion. So that's why Europeans tend to be thinner, because they drink just little sips of wine. They don't drink big drinks or cold drinks or water. So because people always ask me about, how to stay fit, how you stay, fitting into those Giovanni dresses. And I'll leave you with that tip. I don't know if it makes sense, but
that's all right.
I like to share that.
I feel like we found another, future. So dating show, late night show, like health and wellness, fitness show. I feel like they put a camera on and say, go. And you can figure it out. Guys, thanks so much for watching another episode of The Pulse. I'm floored, but that was fun. That was my, obviously, first experience with Countess Luann, and she did not disappoint. She's done so many things. Her life is an open book. Her ups, her downs, she was happy to share them all. And I gotta tell you, I enjoyed the conversation, and I respect somebody who is that open in the steps they've taken, that willing to share and grow. So I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. You can hear the entire interview, all places where podcasts are available, and you can look at all of the interviews we've done, 100 plus interviews, all at your fingertips, right on the Fox Local app. And I leave you today, as I always do, reminding you whenever you can, use your voice for good and have a good one.